Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today, we're going to be talking about how to stay centered on social media, and especially when you're trying to balance the boundaries as a creative. My name is Richard Billings. I'll be the host today. I kind of started in my career as a creative, as a professional photographer, and working on both sides of the camera and the microphone in radio and television. Once the .com first bust happened, I transitioned to IT because it was such a large field to get into. Quickly kind of ramped that up into IT management. I've been doing that for about 20 years, with the last 10 years being mainly focused on, or completely focused on, startups as both a founder and a early employee. Once COVID came around, and my job changed, I decided I wanted to get more back into a creative space. And at so this being a late career pivot, I wanted to make sure that I was melding, technology along with my creativity. And so gaming just seemed, game design and game development just seemed like the perfect way to do that. So luckily I found CGS, CG Spectrum, joined their game design course. And through the amazing network experience you can get through CGS, I have now formed a new studio called Toybox Titans. We're working on a game called Toybox Titans. So we're trying to do the Coca-Cola thing where we have the same name as our studio is the same name as our game.
All right. Yeah. I look forward to seeing this. I need to check this out. It sounds really exciting.
And we're using 2D animation as well. So we're really
Way to
delving
go.
into everything.
Fantastic.
So our schedule today, we're going to first I'll introduce the panelists. We're going to talk about how to stay centered on social media, where you need to start, the strategies to building that, hesitation and imposter syndrome, which a lot of us, probably everyone goes through at some point. We'll talk about coping with the challenges and how to make it last. We're going to end it with some resources, and then at the very end, we'll have a Q&A. So make sure you've got questions ready for us. So let's talk a little bit about CG Spectrum. It's a top-ranked online training provider, specializes in CG graphics type things, computer graphics, especially around animation, digital painting, game design, game development, 3D modeling, VFX, those kind of things. One of the best things about CGS is that there's a huge amount of mentors, and they literally come from the industries that you're trying to learn about. So they're not just teachers; they're also the ones that do these things in real life. CGS has a really good success rate on getting people through the courses and then into the industry, and students from all around the world. So you'll be working in every time zone that you can think of, and they do a really good job of facilitating that, making sure that no matter where you're at in the world, you can train with other students that are looking for the same kind of benefits. Also, they have many career development services, and one of the most amazing things for me has been the networking opportunities. There's thousands of people, alumni and current students, and of course all the mentors in the Slack community. So you always have a way to find answers and jump in and give answers as well. And it's been an amazing opportunity for me. The courses include visual effects, 3D modeling, digital painting, animation, and game development, from game design, programming, and into virtual production. And one of the newest things that they offer is visualization. So I think visualization is a really great industry that you can get into, that's creative, because it's kind of outside of some of the ones that are really hard to get into, whether that's film or television. So there's some great opportunities there as well. Start by introducing Psycho-san. I guess I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so I'm a 2D animator. That's my job, but I also do some illustrations. But I'm a traditional animator, so that means hand drawn every frame of the animations that I do. I work on a tablet, one of those things there. And so, yeah, I've been doing this for about 20 years. I'm French, but I also have a British nationality now. I live in London. And so I started working essentially. Well, I studied animation in France for a couple of years, where I it was all about making short films. So it was about being an author and writing your own stories. So I really enjoyed that. But after the school, I actually ended up doing mainly freelance work for all these years, working for studios, essentially in the advertising industry. So some of the most interesting jobs that I've done are, for example, I'm quite proud of a music video that I did for Katy Perry. That was about 3 years ago. It was called Cry About It Later. So look it up if you want. That was a really interesting time in my life because I got to direct, to write the story. I was in charge of the whole thing, and that was fantastic. I also worked on an episode of Love, Death and Robots as an animator, not as director, but that was great with Robert Valley, who's a great director. And I did a lot of action shots on this episode, so that was a lot of fun. What else? I also do some illustration work. So I've worked for, notably for Capcom on their video game called Tekken, not Tekken, but Tekken, and did some card illustrations of dragons and monsters and these sort of things. And I also done some illustrations for Marvel more recently. They have these selection of cards, collector cards, which were supposed to be in an anime style. So I did some of those. That was a lot of fun. So I've been on social media for a long time. I saw internet appear, I saw email appear, all this. So I've been around for a while. And as I was saying at the beginning, at first the social media seemed to be a little strange to me. I didn't get on Facebook like until quite late, I have to say. But I discovered things like DeviantArt. Back in the days, that was a big thing. Less so today. And then when Instagram came along, I really thought that was really cool because it was very visual. It was very easy to access on the phone. It was very focused on visual content. So that was great. And I could also put animations on it. And it was growing quickly. So I really quickly, it was a good fit for me. And I really put a lot of effort into it. So so today I've got quite a big following on this, about 180,000 followers. So this is the biggest community that I have. I'm also on TikTok and other places, but for me, Instagram is the big thing. So there you go. I'll stop there.
Great, thank you. And I'd like to introduce Ryan Laley. You're muted, Ryan.
There we go. That's better, isn't it? Yeah, so I've been in the games industry for some time now, mostly as a consultant and trainer and educator, and I'm a CG Spectrum mentor. But people mostly know me from my YouTube channel where I teach and train Unreal Engine. So I'm an Unreal authorized instructor, which means I get the fun job of training and helping studios around the world in how to use Unreal Engine for games, films, visualization, all sorts of things. As I said, I've been doing it on YouTube. We've got about over 100,000 subscribers now on YouTube. It's one of the bigger Unreal Engine YouTuber destinations to go, and it has shown no signs of stopping. I got my start as a traditional teacher working at a brick and mortar college, and I started YouTube because my students weren't finding good enough resources. So I was like, you know what, I'll put some few resources up there for you guys. And lo and behold, it seemed to really take off and attract a lot more people. And it became a full-time occupation a few years back. And yeah, so we do that. I'm also work on my own game, which is called Mimic. And I'm also do like freelance work for a number of different studios around the world over the past couple of years too, which I don't think they've released yet, so I can't say too much about them. But definitely a couple there over the past couple of years there. But yeah, it's me.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and obviously as a young game designer, not young in age, but young in my career, well, I use your resource all the time. So thank you. So with social media or with creativity and things in just in general, you've got to start somewhere. How do you avoid the blank page fear, and how do you just start creating?
Yeah, if I may start, I mean, for me, there was a need to share something. I think I started going on social media to look at other artists putting up their work. And so at first I was more curious to discover what other people were doing. That's a good reason to be on social media, just so that you can be there and observe what people are doing. And then you can take a bit of time to understand what they do, how it works. You don't have to throw everything in it right away. So I took my time at the time. I remember I was like not expecting much from it. I was just wanted to see what other artists were doing. That was great. And then when I saw that people were posting simple things, you can put a sketch, you can put a little picture here and there. Why not? And there's nothing bad about it. So it's easy. And then if you get some response, if you get some positive comments, it's a nice feeling. So I realized little by little that I could put up my own content, and I could start interacting with people. And that was nice because in my environment, there wasn't many artists. And my background was mainly in architecture first, and then a bit in animation. But I moved around. I was not necessarily around my own friends for very long. And my family is not very artist oriented. So it was a great opportunity to meet other artists. I have to say this is a great thing about Instagram. So the question is, what do you put up first? And I think the truth is that I think you can start with anything you fancy. I mean, there's no judgment on social media. I mean, there is some people who go around judging other people for sure, but there's no rule. You can go out there and put whatever you want up there. So why not? And then if people if you find people that are like-minded, you share with them, and then you can start engaging with those people. So I think starting has to be small and a bit organic. That's how I would do it.
Yeah, I agree. And as I mentioned, I got my start on the YouTube channel because I wanted to provide something for my students. So I was very much designing what I was putting on there just for a very small audience, for the students I physically taught in the classroom. And it just took off from there. And so when you're thinking about starting off on social media, about sharing your work, think about not just about like sharing it with absolutely everyone with a big goal in mind of like maybe getting a job or whatever it may be. It could also be a case of like you're trying to hit a very small goal. Maybe like you just want to be more confident about showing off what you're working on, or you just want to participate in some sort of discourse or something along those lines. So feel free to start very small and see where it takes you. It could lead to somewhere quite popular, because you'll start realizing that other people are like you and will actually like what you've got to show and tell. So yeah, just get started by thinking about, like, if you just want to put up stuff to show your family, hey family, check out my Instagram, check out my TikTok, check out YouTube channel, and it'll go from there.
Yeah, your family and friends will be your first audience, obviously, if
Yeah.
they're at all interested. Yeah, plus, you might think that you have a specific interest that nobody else is going to be interested in. Well, you might be wrong, because whatever it is that you're interested in, you'll probably find other people. The internet is vast. So at first you may feel a bit like too vast, but again, if you take your time, if you give yourself some time, you don't have to pressure yourself into being productive, into putting things up there, especially at the start. You want to be familiar with the environment, trying to understand how it works and that sort of thing. Personally, I kind of started with fan art. Essentially, that's what I was always doing at the beginning. I was just drawing things that I loved on TV. And what's nice about fan art is that a lot of people relate to it. That if you love a particular character, you'll find other people who love that character. So it's an easy thing to share, an easy thing to get people's attention. So if I'm looking for something to draw, I just think about the shows that I like, and I will draw. I will find something will come up, and I'll be like, yeah, I'd like to draw that. And also being on social media, if you're looking for an idea to something to draw, just use the social media to inspire you, right? Are you going to start following some artists that you love? Look at what they're doing and be like, oh, I could try that. And again, don't try to be as good as them. Don't try to up the game. Just do something you enjoy, put that up, and just, take it easy. That's what I would say. Yeah.
So when I'm thinking, when I'm choosing what topics to cover in videos, it comes from different places. So the first place is something that I want to do myself. Like, obviously I don't want to be putting up content that I have no passion in, because it's going to clearly show through whatever I'm creating. Secondly, is I'm going to look at the audience and see what they say, because my role on social media essentially is more business related. So I need to be looking at the audience and looking at what they want to see. And so I'll talk to them and listen to them about what their comments are and what they want to see next, and so on. But one thing that's really really hopefully comes clear in the videos I produce is is that the content I'm producing is because I'm experimenting myself. So I'm experimenting with ideas and experimenting with new styles or new technology. And it's like, you know what, I'm going to learn how to do this and then transfer or that knowledge and show off that knowledge via social media. Just just like this week, I was working on a light sensor system for an Unreal Engine game, and I was like, "Oh, come up with a cool idea for a game." I was like, "Can I do a light sensor?" And so I was just brainstorming ideas for how to do that, and it probably will be a video that I make probably next week on how to actually achieve that, because I learned something really fun and really interesting, and I want to share that knowledge with other people and say, "Hey, look what I figured out, look what I found out," and that's been a big inspiration for a lot of the content that you see on my channel.
Yeah. And again, I think, looking at people can go on your channel and see what you were doing in the past, where you started your first videos. Same with me, they can go back on my post and look at my older posts. When I went on Instagram, I was already kind of a little bit more seasoned as an artist. So I wasn't like a total beginner on Instagram, but I was on other websites before. But what's interesting is that you could find other artists and just look at the history, just go back and you'll see some of them have their drawings there when they were like just really beginning and they're quite naive and cute. And you can see the progress of their work. And that's another way to inspire you to say, hey, that's where they started. They put up these drawings or these work. It was kind of simple and unfinished and whatnot. But it's still there. They left it in there, and it still exists, and you can still see the progress of what they're doing. I love the fact that about the history that you can find about people's work on social media. So that should show you that they started small as well, and you should not be afraid of that.
Where did you get your name from for the social media side of things? Because obviously, mine is just my name. But where did you come across your name?
Yeah. This is a pseudonym, right? It's a made up name.
Yeah.
Actually, what happened is that well, there's a little bit of story behind it. I signed a letter once to invite people to a party when I was a student, and I kind of didn't write it properly, and someone read my name the wrong way and said, "Oh, you're Psycho, right? SYKO." I was like, no, but okay, I see what you mean. And my friends started calling me that name, so I was like, okay, why not? It became my nickname. And then when internet happened, and I was looking for, I didn't want to put my name out there in a way. I kind of felt quite early on that maybe it's a good thing to protect your identity a little bit. A lot of artists have their own names out there, and that's fine, But I felt like I wanted to have a pseudonym to not necessarily everybody know who I am or find me. I think it's just a layer of protection, if you want, that you can do by just having an artist name. So I went on this first social media, and Psycho, the word Psycho was already taken on the first social media I went to. I was like, damn, it's taken. What am I going to do? So I just added SAN at the end because that's, an extension in Japanese that people use. And I thought that was kind of cool. I was all into Japanese culture back in the days. So this I made up my name, Psycho-san. And people started knowing me with that name. I didn't mean it to be really an absolute, like, forever kind of name. But I kind of grew to like it and kept it. That's what happened. So yeah, maybe think of a name like this. It's a good way to have a unique name that if people look it up, only you will come up in the search. That's a good thing to have. It's good, a good tool. So yeah,
it also gives you that opportunity to not be too worried about what you're putting out. When you're early, you can kind of feel a little filtered behind it.
Right, and you could change that down the line, I guess.
Absolutely. So let's move on to some building strategies. How do you adjust to the algorithm? As the algorithm adjusts, I guess you keep having to adjust your strategies. Can you give some information on how you work with that?
I don't know if anybody can understand the mysterious ways of the algorithm. So my approach has always been to stick to a simple plan, really. I try to draw what I like. to put content that I like. I'm not trying to fit what I do exactly to please the algorithm, because if you do this, you'll always be chasing the algorithm. And quite frankly, I don't know if anybody really understands what's happening behind the screen, right? So I think if you stick to what you like, you'll find people who like what you like, and this is what you want to do. You want to connect with those people who have a similar interest. So stick to what you like. And I think probably the simplest strategy is to be putting up things regularly, right? You don't want to leave your social media dead for months on. It's okay to take a break, right? I don't want you to feel like you have to produce all the time. There's that pressure, right? There's some time we have that we feel like we have to. If you don't know what to post, sometimes you can post some old work, you could put some work in progress, you can put things up, it's okay, but it should remain something that you do for fun and that you enjoy the process. Otherwise it becomes a chore, and at the moment it becomes a chore, it's difficult to keep doing it. So yeah, I don't know what you think.
I agree pretty much everything you said. So there's no way of knowing what the algorithm is. It constantly is changing and unpredictable. But there's one thing that seems to be constant, and that is the consistency of your posting. So if you're posting consistently at a regular rate, your post will be pushed to the surface more often, and people will pay more attention to your profile. So as long as you're posting something regularly, and that regularly can change. So I started making a video once a week. I now do 3 videos and 2 live streams a week. So it's evolved as time has gone on, and but yeah, you just, as long as you're consistent at the start, I think you'll be fine.
Yeah, the question is that what's a good frequency? How much do you need to put to have something efficient, right?
I see. I don't know what the magic number would be. It definitely feels like definitely consistency more so than, and regularity more so than time, amount of time is in between. But I would at least argue that maybe at least once a month have something put up. If you can do weekly, but try and do once a month to start off with, and then you can always scale up. You can always assess as you go. You can always say like, this is too much for me, or I can do this no problem, and pump out more stuff.
I feel as well that probably a month is like the minimum if you really want to have a presence. If you're serious about being online and you really want people to see your work, a month is probably the minimum amount of time you want to leave between 2 posts. And once a week, I think from my point of view, it feels like it's quite a nice pace. Once or twice a week, from my experience. Okay, I'm not an expert on the algorithm again, but it feels like you're giving. If people like what you're doing, they'll appreciate it. If you give them something too often, you might create some fatigue for yourself and for them. They might be less interested. Sometimes some artists, I find, they post every day, and after a while you start liking those posts, or you stop engaging because there's a bit too much of it in a way. And that's maybe that's not a good idea. But I think depending on what you do, there might be like, different artists, different pace, I'm thinking.
It depends on, like, obviously the size of the stuff you're trying to show off. If you're showing off a sketch, that's going to be very different from saying a whole animated rig. It's very different, obviously, time wise. But as we say on the side, don't overthink it. The main thing is just share it frequently.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, and like in terms of being, there's one thing I think that kind of helps, right? Generally, if you want to take this to sort of a professional level, and Ryan, you'll tell me if you think the same thing. I think there's a need to create a sort of identity, like a bit of like a brand. You become a business, and there's a moment where you want to create a style, right? And so at the beginning, I think it's okay to just try different directions. And you might find as you try different directions that things are working better than others. And then you might decide after a while to say, hey, like I'm drawing, don't know, I'm doing nature, animals, and people seem to love that every time I post something like this. Then maybe you make a conscious decision to take that direction and follow through that because you think it's good for your business, or because you really enjoy that, whatever the reason. So I think it helps if when people get to your page, whatever it is, that there is a sense of unity a little bit. But I don't think you have to necessarily absolutely aim for this right from the start, but I think after a while, if you're serious about continuing, I think that's a good idea. What would you say, Ray?
Yeah, no, yeah, 100% agreed. I know my first videos were ropey and everything, so it was very much like trying to figure out what was my style. So I was looking at what other artists were doing and other creative people on YouTube were doing, and it was very much like, well, I like this part of this person, I like this part of this person, but you also have to find like rather than just mimicking then other people, it's finding out what speaks as you as a person more so as well. So you don't want to be like being a pretender and trying to be something that you're not. Um,
Yeah.
so like on YouTube, I'm not a personality. I'm just me. YouTube is a haven for a lot of personality driven characters, and I definitely wanted to be different from that and not be this sort of that sort of guy who's not just a this fake person, but also be a person who wouldn't be out of place talking to someone around the office. And that was the idea. It was like trying to make it feel like you were part of the studio. You was part of the you when I'm talking through the camera, people are also in the same room as me, and I'm just chatting to them as if I would be my colleagues and friends. And that really proved to be quite a good direction for the way I went eventually.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. Oh, cool. You go ahead.
New topic. Because I think this is really important, especially when we're talking about mental health when it comes to social media. Let's kind of discuss hesitation and what many of us have is an imposter syndrome.
Yeah, so I think we should explain what imposter syndrome is for those who don't know. So, imposter syndrome is the name given to the feeling of you're not going to be as good as other people. Like you feel like you're a pretender amongst a crowd of people who actually know what they're doing, and it's quite a very common feeling to find in people. Like it's a common trait that you see and common comment we have from our students and followers is like, how do you get over the fact like of sharing your content? How do you get the courage up to share it? And that's what we're talking about here is this how to get over this hesitation. I mean, Psycho, how did you like get over that sort of hesitation of like sharing your stuff on Instagram?
Yeah, I have to say, I mean, for me, what I do has always been something that I do kind of for fun. I really take it. I know that I've had friends that I talked to about this problem, and I remember some of them kind of getting to a point where they hated their content. And if you don't like what you do, obviously you don't want to show it. That's for sure. But if you're happy with what you do, you won't show it. So that's one big thing. So I think those people who hate what they do, they're putting too much pressure on themselves. And that's the kind of conversations I would have with my friends. I'd be like, you're too harsh on yourself. What you do is good. Often we fail to see how good our work is. We're too critical about what we do. We're looking at other people and we think, oh, we're not that good, and that's when you feel like an imposter. You feel like you're just not really the good artist that you'd like to be. But the truth is that if you've been drawing a lot or you've been creating content and you have that experience, you have something. You have something that you should be proud of. You have a right to express yourself in that way, and here's the other thing. You don't need to be the best or wait to be the best to be out there and show yourself. Absolutely not. In fact, it doesn't matter what level you're at. The world is a big place and there is an audience for everything. I remember, for example, when I was, at the beginning and I was drawing, I was not really good at drawing. I was learning. I remember following artists that were not the best artists. I was not interested in like the best illustrators. I was interested in artists who were a little bit better than me, because when I looked at what they were doing, I could see the difference between what I was doing, and I could see it inspired me to, oh, I can do this a little bit. I could draw a face a bit better. I could draw the body a bit better. So I would feed my my brain with content from other artists that are not necessarily the best, but just a little bit better than me. And that was encouraging me to continue and to do better. If you compare yourself to the best out there, it feels like an impossible task for sure. And you think, oh, I'm pretending to be this artist, but I'm not really. But that's the wrong way to go about it. I think I like to say that there's a big table, okay, and if people ask you if you're asking yourself what you bring to the table, it's okay, whatever it is, it's interesting. There'll be someone who's at your level, someone who's interested in what you do. There's no shame in that, and also being out there will allow you to get some feedback, to get people to say, hey, you could do this. How about that? That is a valuable thing that can help you again push you further and forward. That's my view. So my take on this is essentially I try to make it fun all the time. I try to never lose the point that what I'm doing is entertaining me and is giving me some pleasure. If at any point I feel like what I'm doing is difficult, I'm struggling with it, then something is wrong in my approach. I need to step back and I need to start re-enjoying what I'm doing again.
Yeah, yeah.
That makes
I would say for everyone who's watching, imposter syndrome is something I struggle with even today. Like it's something I've struggled with all my life, and it's very much the case of doing exactly what Psycho-San is saying, like of comparing myself to the people who I shouldn't be comparing myself to, and as you said, like the table is big, and you're just adding to it, and no matter what you think, whoever you aspire to be and whoever you're trying to be inspired by, there's always people who are going to be inspired by you and aspire to be like you. And the solution to actually getting over imposter syndrome and getting past it is the same as the success of it, posting things. Because as like I was saying, you not only get good feedback, but you also get people just leave you good comments of saying like, this looks amazing, great. And the first time you get someone leaving a positive review of any piece of work you do, it is the most amazing feeling in the world. It clearly trumps all the negative stuff that you may think you're going to get or anything else. When you know that something that you've made has impacted someone and made them enjoy something in their day a bit better, it makes all the difference. So if you are struggling with getting over that hurdle of like, I don't want to share my work because I'm scared people are going to judge it. No, like people aren't going to be judging it. People are going to be looking at it and giving you feedback and or commentary. And for everything when I first started posting content, I used to fear it all the time. I used to feel like, oh my God, I'm going to get found out. People realize I actually don't know what I'm doing. And and that wasn't the case. And it came through and eventually got some really good comments and good feedback. And it's not always a winner. Sometimes you do get some negative comments. You do get those your odd troll who like try and push you down or say they don't like your stuff. And all I do with those people is say, okay, fine, you can by all means look at other people's stuff. Like you don't have to look at my stuff. Like there are hundreds of thousands of other people who want to watch it and be inspired by it and like it and learning from it. Yeah. It's not for everyone, so don't try to be for everyone. Like you will just say to people, just like, if you don't like it, fine.
Yeah, that's right. It's true. You're not creating what you're doing to please everybody. Absolutely not. So you don't want to let yourself be affected by people who don't like what you do because they're irrelevant. They should be irrelevant to you. If they don't like what you do, it's because they're interested in something else. Therefore, you don't have to interact with these people. So you should look for people like-minded who have the same motivation and will bring you positive feedback. There's nothing wrong in doing art, right? And at the end of the day, if you're drawing, even if it's not perfect, it's a positive thing. It's just a simple existence. The very fact that you're drawing something is already something good. There's nothing negative about it. It's all positive in my view. So yeah. you might aim for something. You might be like, okay, I want to do this. You try and maybe you fail, but that doesn't mean what you've done is bad. I had a teacher, remember, used to tell me this, which we used to laugh at. I was studying architecture, and we do the art teacher would tell us to do things this day. So we go out, we do our stuff, and he will go around the classroom and look at everybody's work. And one of the first things he would often say is, it has the merit of existing. And we used to think that's terrible. That's a terrible comment. I used to think, well, oh my gosh, is that the only thing you can say about it? It's good just because it exists and that's it. And at the beginning, I remember thinking, I felt like it was not a good thing to say, and nobody wanted to hear that from the teacher. But it took me years actually to realize that was actually a very good and encouraging thing, because simple fact that you went out there and did something is already a positive thing. And it's never going to be perfect. It's never going to be just right. I mean, that does not exist. It's an idea that you want to get rid of your mind. There's no perfect drawing. There's no perfect artist. That doesn't make sense. And the best artist that you can find, you'll ask them, you'll talk to them, I'll tell you that they think that another artist is the best, or they'll think that they want to do this and they're rubbish at that, and everybody's the same. And I don't know about you, Ryan, but through the years, I keep improving what I do. I think I've become a better artist, but I'm always looking around and thinking that, oh, there's plenty of people who can do things that are better than I can. But that should not stop me at all. And
No,
it's the opposite. It should
it
encourage.
yeah, encourage and inspire you to be like that. You want to like achieve that sort of success. You want to see that that skill develop or whatever it may be. But yeah, it very much is very much that case. Like I'm looking at other game developers or indie developers who are working on things and sharing their stuff, and it's like, oh, it's amazing. So I like going to the game exhibitions and wandering around and see what people have made, and they're showing it off. Oh, it makes me want to just go home right there and then and just start making stuff, because I'm like, okay, that is a cool idea. I'm gonna try and do that, and I'll be looking at someone's game and thinking, oh, that's a really cool game. Like, oh, that's really amazing. Really, really I love it. And then they come up to me and they say, "Oh my God, I love your stuff." And like we both love each other's stuff, and that and we didn't know
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
And so it is worthwhile just even for those people that you're inspired by, just to like interact with their media as well. So like their stuff, leave comments on their things, and say like, "I love this work, brilliant." And you'll soon find that you've got common ground, and you can learn from each other pretty well. It's pretty good like that.
Yeah, totally agree with that. It happened to me again last weekend. I was at a Comic-Con, and I went up to another artist that was there. I really like his work, and I said, "Oh, I love your work. It's amazing." And then he comes up to me and says, "What are you talking about? I love your work. It's amazing." Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
okay, great. That's the thing, that you can be good at what you do. There's always going to be someone else good at something else, and there's
yeah,
not a competition, right? It's more about being developing yourself as a person, I think, and enjoying the
yeah,
process.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Oh,
We're
cool.
gonna move to coping with challenges. I think this will be important too, especially when we're talking about mental health. How do you
Yeah.
deal with the trolls and the haters?
Gosh,
I
yeah.
play nice. I have the saying of killing with kindness. So as I mentioned earlier, if someone comes up to me and says I don't like my content, I'm like, that's cool. Guys, check out this guy. He does similar stuff, and you may like their stuff too. Or they're critical about something, or whatever it may be. I'll ask them like, what don't you like about it? I'll try and it's the teacher in me trying to make every situation a learning experience. And where someone tells me they don't like something, I get them to reflect upon it in a critical way, so they can actually be critical with their feedback rather than just
Mhm.
negative. So the teacher inside of me just goes, oh, okay, well, why do you think that's bad? Like, what don't you like about it? Um, and one or two things happens. One is you'll convert people into actually learning something and taking something away from you, because after all, that's what we share. Is we're not just sharing art, we're sharing the inspiration to people. We want people to take away something, learn something, or take an image away from it. But it's also the second part is, if that doesn't work, then you just annoyed them because they're not getting the reaction that they wanted. And a lot of the time, people who are trolling are looking for a reaction from you.
Yeah.
And if you just don't give them that reaction, and give them the actual opposite of that reaction, they tend to go away quite quick because it's not
Yeah.
worth it. Yeah, it is an interesting thing to
Yeah, I
add.
totally agree with that. I think a lot of the trolls out there are just there to cause a stir, and they want attention. I think you're right. This is I mean,
Yeah.
find that this works on my social media quite like that. They come in and just say something unnecessary, really, and provocative, just to get people talking about it. But there are, I mean, two things. Yeah, I agree. First, for me anyway, my reaction would be I'll ignore those comments. And it's, at the beginning, I have to say it's hard. When I started having more and more followers, you get more and more trolls with it. And you're like, okay, how do I deal with this? This guy is just being all aggressive on my comments section, and people are reacting to what they're saying, and it's just turning into this snowball of arguments. And all you want to do is post something nice, and then you get this sort of hatred-filled comments filling up in your post, and that's not a nice feeling. So at first, the first instinct might be to just go in there and try to explain to these people what your intentions are, or you try to give them a reason, and obviously they don't want to listen because again they're just there for attention, they're just there to cause trouble. So there's some simple tools you could do, and I think as you post, you want to be there to see if anybody posts comments. So if you see one of those, that's what I do. I just delete them. If I can see pretty clearly after a while, you see the pattern. You're just here to cause trouble. There's nothing wrong with just erasing, deleting a bad comment. They're disrespecting your post, so you don't have to respect them back. If you really don't like it, just get rid of it. If you feel like there's a chance that you might change their mind, or if they feel like it's an honest criticism, they just didn't word it really nicely, then you can try to comment, right? But if you find that then we're not being really honest, then you can just delete the whole conversation and just clean up your comments. I find that usually these people don't come back. Most of the time they leave a nasty comment and they disappear. So you can just delete it, and they're not going to come back saying, "Hey, where's my comment?" Doesn't happen to me, to be fair. So
No, it very much is for me the case of, because what I'm doing is a business and almost like community driven business as well. So I'm building a community of people who are regulars, and they're going to turn up and contribute. I'm pretty much okay with people being negative towards me, because I have usually have the patience to sit down with them and try and convert them if I can. But the one thing I have zero tolerance for is if they start on anyone else in the comments. So if they started commenting on like other people and using like hate language or anything like that towards other people, that's a quick way to get deleted, banned, or just kicked from whatever you're doing. And thankfully, I haven't had to do that many times. I've only had to do like a few bans in my life, and it's mostly those bans have been because people were spamming hate speech across things. It was like, you know what? No. So ban and report, and it kind of and it stopped. And I haven't had it for ages now. It kind of works. So yeah, that's the one line I draw under is like, sure, you can be disparaging to me. I'm fairly thick-skinned, but I yeah, I don't want. I'm trying to foster a healthy community where people who maybe scared to share their work and scared to talk about their problems, or scared to talk about ask questions. And I don't want them to be discouraged from asking questions or asking for feedback. Like, I don't want someone to say like, oh, this works really cool, Ryan. Can you to click on this link and check out my work and give me some feedback? And I was like, yeah, sure. But then if someone else has then replied to that comment saying something nasty and horrible, that I tend to like obviously kick out of the room straight away.
Yeah. It's these comments can be very intrusive and have an impact on your mood for the day. I mean, I've had comments like this that could just ruin my day. I've had, I mean, at the beginning anyway, and it goes long. you want to take them seriously at first, and
Yeah.
and you think, oh, what if it's true what they're saying, and these sort of things. This is probably one of the hardest thing at the beginning, is to distance yourself from what they're saying. So I think your very grown up approach to it, try to talk to them and explain the situation. That's fantastic. I think I probably have less patience than you, and
I'm a teacher. It's what
yeah,
I came
yeah,
we used to it. That crisis management type thing.
I nowadays I'm a lot less tolerant to this, so I clean up my if I get these people coming in,
Yeah.
firing in all directions, I just delete them real quick. And again, like I said, they don't. Good thing about deleting is that you can forget about it. If the post is there, sitting my comment and being, I find it hard to forget about it. I'm like, I need to deal with this. So if I think it's genuine, I will reply. If I don't, I just delete it as soon as possible, because the sooner it disappears, the sooner I can forget about it and go
Yeah.
on with the day. That's
Yeah.
That's
And if
great.
it gets too much, go like I'll get up off my desk, go upstairs, and sit down with the wife and the kids and talk to them instead.
yeah,
Maybe air my grievances out, whatever it may be. But
yeah.
sitting at a computer or a phone or iPad all day is not healthy. You want to get away from that sort of impersonal commentary, and yeah, sometimes just getting up and walking around does wonders. I have a cat, so I stroke my cat. Um,
That's
I mostly
brilliant.
go and play with the kids and remind myself that hey, these guys love me. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, yeah.
Can you talk about the challenges of transitioning from kind of part-time contract creation to full-time? I'm sure you've got a lot to say on that, Ryan.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I started the YouTube channel as a part-time thing whilst I was still working as a teacher and manager at college, and success took over and started snowballing. And then there was a point where it had to transition over into a full-time position. Just that transition period was super high stress because of okay, this is no longer just a hobby now. This is a livelihood, and I remember immediately the first month of going full time, I had someone trolling me on every social media. They were just copy and pasting the same hateful commentary about me and my stuff. And I started freaking out because I'm thinking, I've just quit my job. I've just started this full time thing.
It's tough.
And this person's trying to burn the boat that I was just set sail on. Um, and all this happened on the first day of my vacation. And so the first day of my vacation, I was dealing with like basic crisis management, like trying to chase this person around who was even making like other accounts with different names and trying to get away from the banning, and it was insane. Um, so after about 20 hours of doing that, they stopped, and I haven't had them ever since. Um, but that obviously very very high stressful situation dealing with that. But going full time definitely makes it turning it from a part-time hobby to a business is does make your outlook on it very different, and you do have to start playing the social media game of like, well, what can get us more traction, more audience, more success, more a bigger market share, those sorts of things, and they're never straightforward. And it can at first feel a bit sleazy because you feel like I'm just trying to like manipulate the algorithm. Um, but you try it's a fine line you try and walk where you want to try and appease the trends and social media like algorithms, but at the same time try and keep reminding yourself that you're yourself. And so I have done this. I've looked at like the zeitgeist and looked at what conversations are going on, looked at what trending, what hashtags are being used, and started manipulating and thinking, okay, well, how can I take advantage of this and try to draw more business towards the channels. And that's I think the switch is to think of is this is a business now. This is something I have to do to in order to provide things for my family, my kids, my wife. And so you do have to play the game a little bit, and keep an eye on those sort of things. It can be quite difficult because there are so many different social medias out there. So TikTok is something I'm still vanilla at. I think I've got 3 posts on there. Um, but it's something on my to-do list of trying to improve and try and work out what would work best as a form factor for it. Um, but yeah, it does change your mindset. But as long as you understand what you're doing it for. So if you go like goal orientated with your social media posting or your channels or whatever you're using for, if it is just posting random stuff, it's not going to go anywhere. So you need to be sort of directed and like, okay, well, YouTube's going to post this stuff, LinkedIn's going to post this stuff, TikTok's going to post this stuff, Twitter for this stuff, or X, whatever you want to call it. These sort of things are going to once you know what your goal is for each one, it makes it a lot easier to compartmentalize how you're going to organize your workflow a little bit. But you try not to lose that bit that got you successful in the first place. So I try to remain the same sort of person I was when I on video that I was when I first started the channel. And I like to think that's going the same way and going well. Some people may argue against that, but it is. But I think the audience, thankfully, that I've got is quite a mature audience. So they recognize that it's now gone to a full-time thing, and they realize, okay, yeah, this is a full-time thing for him. So therefore, he has to do X, Y, Z things to see success. I can't just post whatever I want, whenever I want now. I have to think about things and think about how I can not take advantage, but make the best of a situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's probably the perfect time to transition to how do you make
Sure.
it last? So, how do you, when it comes to planning your content, what inspires you? What keeps you motivated and excited about what you're doing?
Personally, I feel like this it's my personal experience, but there's plenty of stuff I want to do. I don't know. I never run out of ideas of what I would love to do. There's so much to try out in this world. So in terms of animation and illustration, there's so many beautiful things that people paint around. That gives me some ideas. I've got these folders where I keep little things that I like from the internet, and I'm like, yeah, I'll get back to this at some point because this is really cool. I want to try this out. I want to draw something with those colors. I want to draw a character like that. I want to animate like this guy over there. And I never run out of inspiration, and I feel like I've got a little too much of that. Sometimes it's annoying. I want to do too many things.
Yeah.
So yeah, in your case, Ryan, you're very focused. You've got a very clear direction. I have to say, I don't quite. you're yeah, because for me, I feel like I'm all over the place a little bit sometimes. I lack a little bit of a clear direction, but still, some people seem to stick with me despite my meanderings into different things. And so yeah, I'll for right now until now, I'm still got feel like I got plenty of things to do.
Yeah. As you're saying, like you never run out of inspiration. There's always ideas. I think I've got about 1,200 videos on my channel, and I feel like I'm barely scratching the surface.
Wow.
And my computer has got about 400 Unreal Engine projects where I've just had an idea, wanted to try something out, and made a little project to test it in. And they're just living there, waiting for me to come back to them down the line. And I think it is very much a case of like, I first of all just want to make sure I'm posting content that I'm still passionate about. And there are on my channel, there are some series of videos that I've put out and they've just ended. And it's because I've lost complete interest in taking it forwards. And I'm not just doing it off the selfish reason. I'm doing it because also looking at the viewer numbers, I can see it's trailing off. And I was like, well, I'm not interested in it. People are not interested in it. I'm going to stop doing it and then try something else instead. And as I say, the inspiration is forever. It's an endless pool of it. And when you're working with an engine like Unreal Engine, that software I think changes every 2 months. So there's always stuff to work on, and remake and redo, and so on. But it is my YouTube channel acts as my sort of living portfolio. So it is a live place where I can show off my skill set. So I'll look at what gaps I have and think, okay, what skill sets have I not showed off or haven't developed yet?
Mm.
And I'll try and develop content that are going to plug those gaps or make me more marketable as a contractor or freelancer or whatever. And so I'll be looking at those sort of gaps there, and it's been successful. I think I mentioned when we first started talking about like I haven't had to apply for a job now for the past 4 or 5 years. The jobs have just come to me, and it's because people are seeing the work I'm doing publicly and thinking, okay, we need to reach out to this guy, and ask for his help or see if you can hire him. And that's because I've tried to make my portfolio as big as I can, like in variety sense, like I'm trying to show off like what we can do and how I can be useful for other people. So it's maybe a little bit different for between us, but I feel like we both share the idea of like we want to show as much as possible. Really, we want to play about and explore things ourselves and
Yeah.
be experimental and yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
and learn things.
Yeah, no, I agree with all of that. It's a portfolio for me too. Social media is definitely the way I find work as well. So there is a need to keep it like I was talking about earlier on about the branding. You want to create some sort of coherence a little bit in what you do. So there are some projects that I do that I don't feel like belong necessarily in this portfolio because I feel like it's too different. So sometimes it's worth actually splitting things. So if you're interested in one thing and another thing that's very different, maybe it's worth separating them so that each of them can be focused on properly. So if you're interested in cooking and illustrations, yes, you could put them together, but it may look weird. It may look your page a little strange to people who follow you. It's probably best to separate things. And you can have many different accounts. So if you want to keep one for your cooking, one for your illustrations, but it goes beyond that. For example, I started in 3D animation early in my career because that was what everybody was doing. 2D was kind of suffering a little bit back then. We're talking about 20 years ago, and there was a moment in my career when I decided that I was going to move away from 3D because 2D was where my heart was. This is really what I wanted to be good at. So I made a conscious shift and that's when I started really shaping my portfolio. And you can shape your social media that way. You shape it so that it takes you in the direction that you want to go to, right? You want to show to people what you want to do. So it's not necessarily a matter of being a jack of all trades and doing this, doing that, and everything. Yes, you want to do this, but within a certain array, a certain specific area that where you want to be an expert at. And I decided that I was going to be a good 2D animator. That was like my choice. So I was going to display different kinds of different animations within my style. So and like we were saying, Ryan, there's so many things to be done. You want to display your skills, so you choose these projects, but you give them a sort of identity again, a branding direction. That's your portfolio would be your message to the world that you're saying, this is what I want to do, this is what I'm good at, hire me for this. And yeah, since I made a decision about what was it 12 years ago, so it's helped me really to I think people come to my place and they see a style and they see a direction and they've got a better idea of what it is I'm doing. Yeah.
Great. Probably move forward and open up for Q&A in just a moment. I do want to let you know that we do have some free resources that are available for anyone. Tips on your career, start an animation career. You can find some PDFs on mental health resources, and also you can check out the CG Spectrum podcast. And there's I think there'll be some links here for you, and also on the on the webpage when this is put up. You can continue your learning journey with CGS and start learning by you can contact hello@cgspectrum.com. And this is a social media for CG Spectrum. You can use any of these, and you're encouraged to do so. Now we'll open it up for Q&A.
Yeah, I don't know if people know necessarily. There's like at the bottom of the screen, there's an area with a Q&A button, right? You could click on that. This is the best place to ask questions, I believe. But we have some questions already, right? These 3 questions that we could start with. What was that first one? Yeah, how to get back into art after losing all hope in your skills and abilities. Very that's quite a dramatic question.
Yeah.
All hope is lost in your skills and abilities. Can this really happen? And how do you come back from it? Do you have an idea about this, Ryan?
Oh, I think it comes back to passion and finding that passion for it, and realizing that you should want to do it because you enjoy doing it, not because it makes the most sense for your career or whatever you want to do. Start off by doing something that you enjoy, and keep enjoy to yourself, and try and think about it like you're trying to it's sort of like how you was in school where you'd like do some work and you want to show it off to your parents and like as a proud, like, yeah, this is what I've done. Think of stuff like that and you want to share, and imagine that you're sharing it to your parents online, and that might help you get over that hump there. But it may be a case of just like if you if you haven't enjoyed what you're doing and haven't done for a long time, exploring it may be exploring the same sort of field, but it could also be exploring avenues to that. So you were saying, like Psycho was saying about you started in like 3D animation and things like that, and then it got you back into going to 2D animation and wanted to be more interested in doing that sort of route. And I think that's the case for a lot of people, is find what actually makes you happy.
Yeah, again, going back to this, I agree with that. It has to be a labor of love, right? This is why you into the art, I think, is because it's something you love and inspires you, so you should enjoy it. I think if you stop enjoying it, you probably need to take a break for sure. So if you're that far into in a place, the dark place where you don't believe in your skills and your abilities anymore. I've got this little story that I remember. It's happened to me once. It's a bit unrelated, but similar. I was playing volleyball. Right, I play volleyball. This is something I enjoy doing. And I had not played for like a little while, maybe 6 months or something. And I go to a friend. I'm with my friend, and he says, "Hey, do you want to play a volleyball game with me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's been a while. I haven't played in a while." So I'm playing with all these people, and I don't know them, and I feel a little bit shy, the first time you play, and you're thinking, okay, am I good enough? Am I gonna be the worst player here, or am I gonna be a good player? You don't know. So you're putting this little pressure on yourself. You're trying to be a good player, but you haven't played in 6 months. And I remember feeling like I could not play at all that day. I was terrible, right? I was trying everything, and because maybe I was trying too hard, I was trying to impress the other players. It was just not happening. And at some point, my friend noticed this. It's interesting because he could see the stress in me, and he's like, "Look, take a step back and start from simple. Just go back to the basics, and you'll see it'll come back. It'll feel better." So I kind of took a deep breath and I started playing like a beginner in a way, like very simple, instead of trying to hit the ball hard, I was trying to hit it soft, just getting in the right place. And just that stepping back helped me find my mark again, and being able to play just normally, not particularly good, but at least at a normal level. And I was quite happy with that, and that stayed with me. I was like, this is interesting because this can probably apply to other situations. So I say, if you think you don't have the skills anymore, if you don't like what you're doing, maybe just go back to basics, go back to doing simple things. Just enjoy the simple pleasure of drawing random stuff. Play with colors candidly, whatever it is. Try to animate something that's as simple as a bouncing ball, and just go back to the basics, and then you'll feel again that you can do it, and it's okay, that you're not that bad, because obviously you can do it, and then you start from there again. I think maybe that helped. I don't know what you think, but
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Yeah.
We have a live question of how do you get over burnout, which I assume those two kind of play together with the last question.
right, burnout. Oh yeah, burnout. Yes, it's a good question.
Yeah. I mean, did you hear I had over 400 projects on my computer? Um,
Gee,
so
400.
with burnout is very much the case of, if you'll find that burnout's not usually related to the actual medium, like the art itself or whatever it is you're making. It's more to do with the current project itself that you're looking at right there and then, that you're probably getting burnt out on. And it may be because you're not feeling it, you're having too much trouble, whatever the reason may be. In my case, I just put it on my imaginary little shelf and then go work on something new and try something else. And it could be like, as we were just saying, about going back to those basics and fundamentals and starting from there again, to recapture that passion that got you into it in the first place. But yeah, don't just sit and dwell on it. Like, if something's not working for you, you're not enjoying it, just move to the side and come back to it later. You'll probably have more passion for it later on, or even like a better knowledge base and skill set where you can, okay, I can actually tackle that now. I think I can actually do that. Yeah, don't be afraid just to get up and walk away and go to something else.
I've had moments like this when I felt a bit overwhelmed by all the things I had to do, and you try working hard to get through to them, and you have a long list of things to do, and you get that feeling that you're burning out. So I've done this thing in the past where I basically have to force myself to realize that I had plenty of time, in fact, because you put these. It was for me anyway. I was putting these deadlines on me, like I have to get this done, I have to get that done, and all these things, and I've got to be done before this time and whatnot. And I remember thinking at some point, well, look, there's plenty of time ahead of me. I can get to these things as long as I don't drop them and and abandon them. I can just keep them on the back burner. And maybe this is when you start having a folder with 400 projects that start stacking up. But it's the idea that you should be able to not feel like you have to do everything. Like, there's a moment like, okay, come on, there's plenty of time ahead of me. I've got a whole life. I can get to these things at some point. And the interesting thing is that as time passes, some of these projects become irrelevant. You're like, oh, that was cute, that was nice, but you know what? I haven't done it. Actually, it doesn't matter. You're interested in other things now. You can move on. So I think it's for me anyway. The burnouts come from when I put too much pressure on myself to get too much done too quickly. So sometimes I'm like, whoa, okay, just slow down, stop doing everything, take a break, take a breath, and do one thing at a time, and just realize that you have time. You have time. You don't have to rush everything. Yeah, that's what I would say, I guess, to that. There's another couple of questions that we have on the backlog here. Shall I look at one
Yeah,
of
go
those?
on.
How to manage your time making art and spending time with your loved ones? Interesting questions. Yeah, sometimes you're like so taken by your work that, right, it's like anything, like any job, right? You just do too much of it, and then you forget to spend time with your friends and family. Yeah, that's a big question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I set boundaries. I set like rules that I follow. So, for example, every Friday evening, no matter what, no matter how busy I am, no work gets done. That is time for me and the wife to get takeout delivered and sit down and watch Netflix or Amazon or whatever. And yeah, that's our night where I just avoid doing work no matter how busy I am.
Yeah.
And it's important, I think, if you just set yourself up with those sort of boundaries, those sort of rules to follow, I think that's a good place to start.
Yeah, and it ties into the burnout issue, right? If you don't
Yeah.
stop yourself, you don't put these boundaries, you will burn yourself out. I have to say, I like, for example, sometimes my wife travels, and it's not necessarily a good thing for me because she's away, and suddenly, like, I'm going to spend my evenings working, and I get up in the morning early and I start working, and when she's there, I make the time. I make the time for her. I stop working in the evening. I don't work evenings. This is time for family time. I have a moment in the week when I call my parents every week. So does my wife. I think it's a good thing to have, you know. So I make sure I keep talking to my parents and my friends. We try to encourage each other to have moments as well in the week now and then when we have time to just chat as well as we're working. It's like a conversation a little bit like this because we can't necessarily be together in the same room. And these moments are nice, and I cherish these moments more than I ever did as I get older. I want to make sure I have the time for people around me. So I think every hours in the day is a good way to do. I don't work at the weekends usually either, and sometimes I'm desperate to do something, but I don't work as much as I could. I just stop myself as well. So yeah, you have to sort of
Yeah.
limit yourself.
So we have another one more question. Is it more important to have a unique voice or just do whatever everybody else is doing to create a portfolio for a specific studio?
Good question. I think I often tell my students, you know, as a mentor, we talk about portfolio and how to approach, how to look for work, how to build up your portfolio. I think it's a big question. At the beginning, myself, I was doing a bit of everything because again, you don't know where you're going, you don't know what's going to be your style. And you just want a job. You're like, I'm going to do a bit of everything. I'm going to put all this in my portfolio, and just try to find work with this. The problem with this strategy is from the point of view of the employer, potential employer, is that if you show them 100 different things that are unrelated to what they do, it's not really a good look for them. They're not interested in things that don't relate to what they do. So I encourage my students to do portfolios that are specific to what they're looking for. So if they're looking for a particular style, they should put on their portfolio animations or illustrations that are in this style, and they send that to the specific studio or those studios that do similar style. You target your portfolio towards a future employer, potential employer. It makes sense because they're looking, if you're a studio and you have a style, you're doing, I don't know, things like The Simpsons, and that's your style, you want people to send portfolio that look like The Simpsons. It makes sense, right? So you want to tailor your portfolio to your clients. I think it's a good idea. It's a good strategy to increase your chances of getting a job. But for you, that's a different thing about what you do for yourself, right? This is a different thing. Through your years, I was doing this. I was targeting studios, but nowadays I want to do more of my own style, and I'm trying to push for that actually. So I've changed my strategy a little bit, and that's all. I can only do this in a way because I have a certain success, I guess, in my career. I'm in a stage where I can be a bit more picky. Studios like what I do. They come to me with job offers. So I can be a bit more demanding. I'll be like, I'll take the jobs that correspond more to my style. And I'm starting to advertise my personal style rather than targeting someone else's style.
Yeah.
So this is a change in my career. Yeah.
Yeah,
One more
same
question.
for me.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Cool.
How do you separate yourself and your self-value from the work and creative output when your self-esteem becomes entwined with your social media profile or creative work?
Right. Yeah. Again, is you want to try to take some. Okay, I guess, I mean, it's difficult to separate the two because I don't know about you, Ryan, but for me, it's a bit of the social media is a way to have my own little show, right? I love to have an
Yeah.
audience. I want to share what I do. Okay, people will say, "Oh, you're doing this to get attention." Yeah, I'm doing this to get attention. I want to get jobs. I want people to see my work. I just want to share it. That's why I'm on social media. So I want attention, and yes, it affects me, what people think of what I do, etc., etc. But at the same time, like we were saying before, there's room for every style out there. There's room for every person and every interest. So if someone doesn't like what you do, don't take it personally. Okay, it's not that you're bad or anything. It's just that they don't like what you do, and that's their problem. It's not yours. So as long as you like what you do, you enjoy it, you'll find people who enjoy the same things, and you want to interact with those people. I think that's what you're looking for. So when I put my stuff out there on social media and Instagram, I'm looking for like-minded people who have the similar interests. And if they come in, people don't like my stuff, well, don't look if you don't like it. You know. Yeah.
Yeah. just like things like food. You don't, if someone doesn't like my father doesn't like pizza, and I'm like, who the hell doesn't like pizza?
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I'm going to disown him and think, oh my God, you don't align with my values, you don't align with what I'm, or you don't agree with everything I'm talking about here. You're dead to me. It's it's very much more of a case of like, okay, you don't like pizza, that's fine. You probably like something that I don't like. Great. Yeah, yeah, you just there's always gonna be people who like what you do. And just as much as there are going to be people that don't like what you do, but you'll probably find once you get started that there can be far more positive people liking what you're doing than not liking what you're doing. It's kind of like a myth. I think people think that as soon as you go online and start posting your stuff, you just get hate comments the whole entire way down. That's not the case. It's quite the opposite, in fact.
Yeah, I agree. You get much more. Yeah, there are more people who will happily share their positive feedback to what you do. Trolls, they exist, but again, you can deal with those. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Well, that was our final question. So I want to thank you both. Wonderful conversation.
Yeah, thank you.
And thanks for everyone that showed up.
Cool. It was fun. Thanks. And good luck everyone with your socials. I hope it goes well.
Yes, good luck.